So, are you DTFF?
Once again, here is Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football with your hosts, Dustin Lunt and Jake Trowbridge.
Welcome back to DTFF, everyone. Happy Tuesday evening if you're joining us here live or wherever you may be. We are back with another terrific episode. We're going to be getting into here in a little bit of who is your daddy and what does he do? No, wait, that's not right. It's who would you rather? Who would you rather? The ADP game. So we'll have some fun with that later. But before we get into it, Jake, how are you doing this evening?
So good. Where I don't know why I had to say it that way. I think because there's no like pinpointed event within the NFL that I can attach myself to right now. So we're kind of tethering out in the off-season just space of it all.
It's not the schedule release that's forthcoming this week.
And that doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it for me. If it does for you, that's fine. I'm not going to kink shame, but for me, it just doesn't. It doesn't get me all riled up. So I just kind of float through this part. I feel like I'm grasping at things sometimes, so that's why the weird response from me. How are you, Dustin?
Terrific. Anytime I get a chance to talk about fantasy football, I'm game and I love it. It's warm out here in Wisconsin for a change after kind of a rainy, gloomy-ish weekend, couple of days. So, I'm feeling good. Can't complain.
Feeling good. Feeling great. Mm-hmm. On the way to excellent. I don't know what's happening right now. Can we talk about what we're drinking? For the love of God, save me.
Apparently, you've been drinking before the show started. And what are you drinking, Jake?
Well, maybe this explains a little bit of it. This is unusual for me. I don't typically do hardcore IPAs. That's just not my flavor. It's not my style. But I opened up this Big Little Thing IPA. It's an Imperial IPA from Sierra Nevada. It's to be fair, only 9%. Imperials sometimes go double digits. This is not that, thank God.
Only 9%, though.
Only 9%. I brought an amber from Delta Beer Lab as a backup because I wasn't sure how this was going to go down, and I'm still iffy on it. But what are you drinking?
I am foregoing the beer for this evening. I'm doing a gin and tonic. Tanqueray being my gin of choice this evening.
Oh, you're having yourself a GT.
Yeah, that's right.
More ways than one. A gin and tonic.
Absolutely.
Good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
love that.
Yeah,
so Tanqueray is your flavor
for this evening. Yeah, that's like my house gin. If I'm just drinking whatever, if I want to have good gin, I'll do something else. But that's just my kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, we've talked a million times offline, as they say, about how I hate gin. I'm not a gin person. It's the weird floral essence bitterness of it all. I don't vibe with it. You've assured me that there are gins out there that aren't like that.
Mm-hmm. Very true. There are, but
I just haven't tried it.
That's fine. It's not for everyone. I won't give you too hard a time about it.
All right. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Hey, okay.
As we get into this, is that the only thing that you're drinking tonight?
No, it's actually not. I am paying off another beer bet. I've got, looking at the sheet, I've got 2 more that I have to pay off here. So I want to clear my ledger. So this week I am paying off and this one hurts. I hate this one. I feel like I got gypped on this one. In that I said that DeAndre Swift is going to get over 78 targets. He ended up, I believe, with 70 on the season and missing like 3 games. So I felt like that should have been a smash over. There was no games played cutoff on there to void it. So
I think it was like 10 games minimum was the technicality that we threw in, and he eclipsed.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah.
For you.
So that one hurts. I feel like I shouldn't take this. Maybe I'll just imagine it as a victory shot instead, because I should have won this
You
one.
can skew it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to be a liar about it, you could skew
No.
it that way.
I'm not a liar, so I'll just Jake. You're an amazing fantasy football prognosticator / genius. Cheers.
Thanks, man. I know you didn't mean it that time at all, but
No, I did not.
imagined you meaning it in my head. So that actually does work. So you could
good.
have done the same for yourself.
Good. So yeah, so that one is paid off. I only have one more here on the ledger to pay off, which I will most likely do next week.
Might be a twofer because I have one remaining in the banks as well. So we might just go ahead and double that thing up.
Yeah. Then we're good for the rest of the off season. Start making more beer bets for the off season next year to be paying off.
Yeah. Hey, we might even start tonight. We could get ahead of ourselves tonight yet.
We definitely could.
The podcast is young.
It is carpe diem. Let's seize the day. See what happens. But
well,
before we do that,
were you about to just make a sneak transition? I think
I was, and now you screwed me up. Way to go.
Sorry, man.
Anyway, let's do a drunk trade.
Let's do it.
Drunk, hammered drunk.
Drunk trade of the week.
While I'm feeling bad about how I screwed up your magnificent drunk trade transition, we can talk about the fact that Reddit user Brewski Chewski, fantastic name, don't know what it means, don't care. That's wonderful. Says, I was drunk at a club as a contender in the league, and I traded Cooper Kupp and a first for Stephon Diggs after Kupp got hurt. So this was like week 6, week 7, whatever that ended up being. At least it felt that early, and ended up losing the third place game in the league by 0.34 points. It finished in 4th place. I don't know if I consider it a bad trade, but it was a push to win now, and I was the first loser with no money. So obviously 3rd place would have got something had he eclipsed that 0.34% or point differential, ends up with nothing. Instead, this is an interesting predicament here. So in Dynasty, there are moves where you will make inevitably to try to go all in for something. And it's not always going to pan out. But what do you think the ramifications of this trade look like for him?
Well, I would say if you did not make the trade, would you even made the playoffs? I know as a contender, you lost by 0.34, but would you even made the playoffs? Or be in the 3rd place game? You don't know. Probably not. Would you have been able to make up those points that Cooper Kupp was giving you if you did not trade for Stephon Diggs? Probably not. So in that aspect, you made the push for the playoffs, and that's never a bad move. If you're a contender, make the push, do it. Giving up a first and Cooper Kupp for Stephon Diggs, yes, that's a steep price. But again, if you feel like you are a contender, like a true contender, and you're making that push to win, fucking go for it. I have no problem with it. I don't think it's a bad trade. Is it a bit of an overpay? Yeah, it is. But at the same time, if you're going for the ship, fucking go for it. I have no issues with this trade whatsoever.
I agree. Go try. We always talk about this. Even if you think there's a 50% chance of making the playoffs, like if you're truly in the hunt or consider yourself to be, then don't just sit on the sidelines and be like, well, I'm out because this one player got hurt. Yeah, I can quibble as you could about the price that was actually paid in this trade. I do think it's a lot. I think almost a Kupp for Diggs swap would have been appropriate there. And I think maybe keeping the first would have made me feel a lot better, obviously. The other thought is you traded away what is hopefully your own first, which is now much later because you made the playoffs.
Correct.
So at least maybe it's not as much. But you would have loved to have held on to that. But But it's frustrating. But people have to be in these spots often throughout Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you on that. My philosophy is go get it. Don't
That's
sit on
right.
the sidelines.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, not a great trade, but I don't hate it either.
Now going forward, one thing to consider: Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, same age. Kupp
Mhm.
now has an injury and a very questionable offense. We've talked about the Rams a little bit so far this offseason. We don't know what they're doing. Really, I don't know that they know what they're doing. Matthew Stafford, that injury is super concerning. Their coach has basically almost retired at one point and then decided to kind of slug it out here. So they could be full of question marks, and you have Stephon Diggs.
Yep. And Cup, this is his second major injury he's had.
Mhm.
Diggs has been healthy, knock on wood. I don't want to jinx that, but Diggs has had a relatively healthy career. He's tied to a good offense. He's the number one with Josh Allen there. So it's not like you're hurting for wide receiver in that trade. Yeah, you gave up a first, but like you said, he finished fourth, so that's going to be like what, the 108 in this year's draft, 109.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you're missing out on a good player, but it's not a blue chip player. Hopefully it's your own first, like you said. If it was someone else's that you traded and it's earlier, yeah, that stings, but we'll assume here it's his or her first. And the 109, yeah, you're missing out on a good player, but not necessarily a blue chip player. Not one of the top quarterbacks or Bijan or so it's
a weird
it's
draft
fine.
class.
It's
so
fine.
that 109
Yeah.
could be a boat, or it could be the hole that a boat falls through. It could literally be anything at this point. So I'm not too worried about that. I think that this was an interesting one, though. I like to see people go for it. One last question about this before we move on, though. Drunk at a club and sending trades. You ever been drunk at a club? I mean, period. But have you been drunk at a club sending trades?
Have I been drunk in a club? Yes.
Okay.
Sending trades? No.
Okay.
Or receiving trades? No. Typically, if I'm drunk at a club, I am not paying attention to my phone. Yeah.
Against the wall, you're doing the uns.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or I'm sitting at the bar watching other people dance because I am too chicken to go out and dance with myself. Even though I am drunk, it doesn't matter.
All right. Fair enough. That was really the question that I wanted to know there. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, Mr. Scampers in the chat. Welcome. A good evening to you. Scampers, if you're still there, by the way, curious, what's your favorite NFL team? I just want to know what kind of homers we're talking about. We're in the precipice of homer season on DTFF, so we always love to know that information. Before we move too far, Dustin, I do have one little bit of surprise. We actually got tagged on Twitter just before the show, so I wanted to make sure I called this out. Have a question here from a viewer, from Dan Dank HS77, that is. Is Deontay Hardy, wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, pretty useless now that they took Dalton Kincaid and added another pass catcher? Should I pick up Brenton Strange and drop Hardy? So this is a dynasty league, obviously. I do not know that this is for sure a tight end premium league. Let me get that out of the way. Again, this is a freshie here, but let's assume that it is, because I think that adds some juice to this. So Brenton Strange, Jacksonville Jaguars tight end. He's interesting. He was taken in the second round by the Jags. But Deontay Hardy, I never had a strong opinion on Hardy prior to the draft. I know a lot of people did. Did you? Do you have a strong opinion on what Dank should be doing here?
Yeah, I would say Deontay Hardy's probably fairly useless now. I should say useless. He won't be a fantasy contributor. Let's put it that way. Yeah, with Kincaid there, and they still have Gabe Davis.
Yeah.
And then who was the guy they had to pick the wide receiver last year in the draft?
Khalil Shakir.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Shakir. Yeah, thank you. Yes. So I would get rid of Deontay Hardy. Brenton Strange, sure, pick him up. Why not?
Pick him up.
I mean, Evan Ingram's there on the franchise tag for this year, so he's only there for 1 year as it stands right now. So Brenton Strange could step into a starting role as soon as next season. Regardless if it's a tight end premium or not, a starting tight end mostly has viable weeks here and there. So, and that is an ascending offense, which we do love on this podcast. So I don't think that's a bad pickup.
I was about to say that he should pick up anybody from the Jaguars offense because they're all going to be dynamos, every single one of them. We love the Jags, but legitimately, yeah, I would much rather take a shot at a guy like Bretton Strange. He's got draft capital at least to back him up. And like you said, with Ingram, it's not necessarily that he's going to be there long term. I personally hope that he is, because I love me some Evan Ingram right now and what he's done since he transitioned away from the Giants. But that's far from a guarantee. So, Dank, yes, hope that answers your question.
And thank you for submitting that to us.
Yeah.
And that goes out there for all of our listeners. If you have any questions, we will answer them at any time. So please submit them to us.
Yeah. Well, I put a blurb in here about player news. It's embarrassing to look at now. I thought it was the first domino of the past week to fall, and there was going to be more news. I put Dan Arnold got signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought I could cluster that with some other news, but no other news came.
I've got like rumor news that I've seen pop up on my sleeper notifications today.
Oh, please share with the class.
And again, it's nothing great. Malik Willis, it could possibly be the odd man out after his rookie season in Tennessee if Tannehill ends up sticking around. So someone that we all thought was going to be highly drafted last year and going to be this amazing prospect could be out on the street. Obviously he'll get picked up by another team, seeing that he is so young and was only a rookie last year. So yeah, there's my little bit of news. Yeah.
Life moves fast in the NFL, man. One day you're in, the next day they don't want you no more. Will Levis and Tannehill. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if any of those options are fantastic, certainly for fantasy, but that would at least clear a path, I suppose, for somebody.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's enough of that. We can move into the meat of the episode here.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. A little who'd you rather?
Yeah, so when doing who'd you rather, typically we focus this more on redraft. Sometimes we'll even do it mid-season. Say for the rest of the season, who do you want? Or when you're on the clock in your redraft league, who do you want? We're going to shine a light on the dynasty values here. So I went ahead and took a peek at Fantasy Pros dynasty value charts. It's a trade chart that they update every month. I do like it. I like it a lot as a reference point.
Yep.
As with any tool of this nature, I never say go all in on that and only believe that, but it's their consensus rankings essentially from the experts that they have there. So it's a good reference point. Use it with your trade calculators or whatever else.
That's exactly what I
do.
do. It is one of the many, many tools that I use when I'm either trying to put together a trade or evaluating a trade that comes to me. If I'm not thinking it's an automatic like smash accept or smash reject, if it's one of those where I have to think about it a little bit and I'm like, well, am I off base? Is this fair? It's one of the many tools that I use to evaluate. So I agree, Jake. It's another tool in the old toolbox.
Utilize them all while you got them. That's what I say. But I wanted to take a look at some of these players that are very close in terms of trade value right now and see if we could figure out how to maybe get an edge and if we have some big discrepancies that we think about players that they matched up pretty closely. I found some fairly interesting ones here. We're going to kick off talking about the Jaguars. We're going to keep on that thread for just a minute. You knew we had to talk about Trevor Lawrence. So these two players are back-to-back in these quarterback evaluations on the Fantasy Pros trade value chart. It's Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert. Now, set aside your secondary homerism for the Jaguars for a moment.
If anything, I am a quasi-professional, Jake. I can always sometimes do that.
So Justin Herbert had a bit of a down year by his standards and by what we'd expected from him prior. Trevor Lawrence finally bounced back. Not finally, but he bounced back after that rookie season. That was very weird, mostly the coach. So they seem to be on two diverting tracks right now. 1-0 going up, 1-0 going down, but they've met here in value. What do you think for a super flex league, let's say in Dynasty? Would you rather assume a bounce back with Justin Herbert and trust his offense potentially? Or would you rather go in on the young stud, the quote unquote generational quarterback prospect that he was 2 years ago in Trevor Lawrence?
You know what? My heart says, and I'm trying to go back to look to see if I can find out stats, but I can't do research on the fly here. So I'm going to pick Justin Herbert here, only because we've seen him do it. He's done it at a high level. Last year, I feel like is an anomaly. His wide receivers were constantly hurt. And he had a bit of a down year. And as much as I love Trevor Lawrence, and we love him on this podcast, I love what they're doing there in Jacksonville, building up that offense. They're getting Calvin Ridley. Christian Kirk was a great signing. Evan Ingram was found brand new life last year. ETN out of the backfield look electric at times. Like, I love everything that this offense is doing.
Yeah.
But we've seen Herbert do it at a very high level already. Where Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't quite cracked into that upper echelon of quarterbacks. Could this be the year? Absolutely. But I will take the known commodity of knowing he's done it before and what his ceiling is. So that's why I'll take Herbert in this scenario.
Yeah, I don't mind that one bit. And it is interesting because we say it's a down year for Justin Herbert, because that's true. He was the quarterback 11 in most formats. That's a down year for him, where he was drafted especially. But he still had the second most passing yards of any quarterback in the NFL last year. Yeah, his touchdowns were not as high as we would have liked them to be. I think, to your point, Mike Williams being out really hurt that factor. And that's to be expected. And he's overcome it before, and he just couldn't quite do it this last year. Maybe it was personnel, maybe it was play calling. I don't know what it was. They did draft Quentin Johnson as his basically Mike Williams' eventual replacement. Maybe sooner than later is how I view it, or at least an insurance policy. So I think he'll be great for this year. I still play Dynasty in a 2 to 3 year window, depending on position. With quarterback, it's 3 year basically, but I don't go further out than that. The only reason I would want to say Trevor Lawrence is because last year, 1 year away from that awful rookie season, he looked so different. And now he gets Calvin Ridley. And now he has a stronger base, I think, to work off of. And if they keep adding personnel to him, and they've been trying to kind of cater to that need a little bit, not that he needs much of it. Now he has that and a scoot. We like players with scoot. We like quarterbacks who can scoot for a few extra yards. That's not really Justin Herbert in the NFL. That is more Trevor Lawrence. So I think I would take Trevor Lawrence. But
okay,
that's just me.
At any rate, neither of these is a wrong answer of who you would take. They're both going to be terrific. No. Just to be clear about that.
Yeah. And this is a softball, really. This one is a softball to kind of get the conversation going. I think things get a lot more interesting with our next quarterback, who'd you rather, which is Russell Wilson, still quarterback of the Denver Broncos, at least as of this broadcast, or Jordan Love. So Jordan Love, interesting, of course, going into his first year as a starter. You know that. I didn't have to say that. Russell Wilson, though, gets a new coach and hopefully one that can unlock him in Sean Payton with the Broncos. So I was shocked to see these two this close together, I guess. One certainly much older than the other, but Jordan Love has a lot of questions. So how do you feel about this pairing here?
This one is pretty easy for me. And I think the reason that they are fairly close together is, like you said, Russ has had a couple down seasons here, not looked like himself. And then we liked what we've seen out of LaFleur's offense here with, Aaron Rodgers. Obviously it's Rodgers, and we're expecting a bit of a dip in production. Right. I hope not, knock on wood, that he just steps right in and puts up Aaron Rodgers types numbers. That'd be amazing. No one is expecting that. But for me, it's Russell Wilson. We've seen him. kind of going back to what I said with Herbert, we've seen him do it at a high level before. The weapons he has on that offense, it's got a solid offensive line. They've got highly drafted wide receivers in Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
Mhm.
They got Albert O, who is a fairly high tight end. And then I'm missing Dulcich. Stepped up
Yeah.
last year and looked really good. You got Javonte Williams coming off of injury, I know, but they got the satellite back with it all, and Samaje Perine to help take pressure off and catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. So I just like the weapons better than what the Packers have. And it's nothing against the young wide receivers the Packers have. Christian Watson flashed great. Jalen Reed, I think, is going to be a really interesting personnel fit. Romeo Dobbs, he did flash at times when healthy. So, I mean, I think trajectory is going up for that group, but they're very young and unproven. And with an unproven quarterback at the helm, I would rather take Russell Wilson in this scenario.
See, this is really interesting. I think I'm coming at this from a different approach now. I see what you're saying with the weapons and all that. Again, 2 years from now, it could look a lot different, what the weapons are and who's there on each team. With Russell Wilson, he's been slowly dipping down. Downgrade, 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 downgrade. And obviously plummeted last season. But part of that is also he is now going to be a 35-year-old quarterback who made up for a decent chunk of his fantasy value, still on the ground. Like, he was not a primary rushing quarterback the way that like maybe a Jalen Hurts is, but he was able to pick up a good baseline with his legs. And now, probably because of concerns of injury and other things, like, he doesn't want to do that maybe as much anymore, which I understand. Also, you're 35, you're not 25 anymore.
Exactly.
So you're on your way down still there. Not to say that Jordan Love is going to be a great rushing quarterback. I don't think that was the case in college. I don't expect it to be the case in the NFL. But I do think that they both have a very small time frame to work with. Jordan Love, I think his leash is maybe a little bit longer because of the investment and how long we've waited to see him. They extended him, the Packers did recently here. Not by much, but they did a little bit. You can't just give him 1 year and then let it be done. Let it be it. Russell Wilson, maybe the second year of the Broncos with Sean Payton. I don't know how bad that contract is after this year. I think it gets significantly lighter. I could see a world where Russell Wilson is not a big-time quarterback after this year.
True. Counterpoint.
Yeah,
he looked terrible last year, but after they fired the head coach last year and they played with the interim the last couple of games, he looked much better. So was his bad play last year a function of just piss poor play calling and bad offensive scheme? And now you've got Sean Payton, who we've seen what he did with short quarterback Drew Brees, So, I mean, I think, we can all say Sean Payton is a vast improvement there in the coaching front. So I'm expecting an improvement. Will we see vintage Russ from 5 years ago? Probably not. But I do think he will outperform Jordan Love this year, at a minimum this year.
This year, I absolutely could see that. And so if you're looking at just pure trade quality, like, go get Russell now, maybe if Jordan Love has a down year, then you can trade for him later on and it won't cost you as much. So that I fully agree with. One thing about the coaching switch late last year, though, I see this every time a coach gets fired. There's like a 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 game peak right after where the team's like, fuck that guy. Let's go do it, everybody. And it doesn't always last. But yes, Sean Payton, huge improvement there. Let's move on to running backs here. Let's talk about 2 names that I don't think are sexy names anymore.
No.
It's Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs going back to back. Nick Chubb in PPR formats will never be like a primary trade target for anybody.
No.
He just won't.
No.
And Josh Jacobs, I think similar deal, maybe for different reasons, not because of the pass catching, but because nobody wants to trust him, maybe. So who of these would you trust more, I guess, in Dynasty?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs. He's a little bit younger than Nick Chubb. Isn't he still 20 years old? I think Jacobs still is,
Yeah,
even
I
though he's
think
been in the league
just
for like
turning
4
20
years.
this week. Yeah.
No, I mean, he came into the league very young.
Mhm.
He's coming up at the end of his first contract, where Chubb is already on his second contract. So, I mean, I would rather take the years. Plus, Jacobs has the pass catching ability, which we've seen with Las Vegas. Whether he's with the team or not after this year remains to be seen. Probably not, since they just franchise tagged him. So I'm assuming they're just going to really work him over this year and then let him walk in free agency, which is fine. He'll get picked up somewhere else on probably a mid-range contract, and be the 1A of a committee moving forward. But yeah, give me Jacobs all day long, mainly
Yeah,
for
I
that
like
pass catching upside.
Yeah, I like that. Nick Chubb, the best he's ever finished was actually this past season. He was the RB6 in full PPR. It is interesting that Kareem Hunt is no longer there. We didn't get anything in the draft that said that they're going to do a semblance of committee in Cleveland. So maybe this year he just gets so much volume that he's a top 3 back. But you have to rely entirely on volume and not necessarily pass catching.
Yeah, we're expecting him to be a Derrick Henry, and I don't know that he's a Derrick Henry. And with Deshaun Watson there now for an entire season, he's got some scoot to him. So will he take some of that rushing away from Nick Chubb at times? And he's obviously a better passer, where they haven't had great passers in Cleveland. So they had to rely on Nick Chubb to really carry the ball.
Fair,
So,
Jacoby Brissett looked a hell of a lot better than Deshaun Watson did last year.
True. I'm gonna count that just to being rusty for almost being off of football for 2 years.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
But to your point, I do think that there's a real threat of that. I think Josh Jacobs, because next year I could see them finishing dead even this next year. But who has more of a chance at longevity? I do think it's Josh Jacobs. So give me him, say, for an extra year or two. Otherwise, I do think it's very even. Let's keep it going with running backs. Miles Sanders signing with the Carolina Panthers this year, or Rashod White, incumbent from Tampa Bay. Leonard Fournette is gone. Tom Brady also gone. A lot of pieces up in the air in Tampa Bay as well. I guess, are you excited about the move for Miles Sanders is probably question one. But then who do you want?
I will take Miles Sanders in this. Rashod White, I can't imagine he's going to be the only back. And I actually saw a rumor that the Bucs could be interested in Zeke to sign him.
Why?
Well, he'll be the 1 and 2 down back, and then Rashod White will come in on pass catching down. So I mean, but I don't know. I like Miles Sanders better. I don't have a great take of why I like him better here, but that's just my gut, and I'm going with it. Just give me Miles Sanders. I think he's going to get a lot of usage this year.
I do think the usage is going to be crazy good. We've talked in the podcast before about how last year Carolina made Deonta Foreman very fantasy relevant, incredibly fantasy relevant. In fact, there were 3 guys in the backfield who all had crazy bump weeks. But if you can solidify that into one guy now, which I think they have in Sanders, then you're looking fantastic. Rashod White, for what it's worth, I still think is a great trade target. I think you should still be trying to get him. If Zeke is there, wait until the Zeke signing and then trade for him, because his value will get depressed.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't care who is the first and second down back in Tampa Bay. I want the guy who's catching passes. If it's Baker Mayfield as the thrower of those passes, I'm going to be a little bit less excited for him in the short term. But I don't think that's going to last long either. Well, it could be Kyle Trask, in which case dump off City, which is actually massive value upgrade for Rashod White, I think. So either way, I don't think you have to worry about it. Well, Scamper's in the chat.
Yeah. Like Sanders more this year than last. Panthers run blocking was stellar.
Absolutely. So yeah, both of these guys still, I value running back, unless you're an elite guy in Dynasty, basically year to year for running back. So it's no different than redraft for me. Wide receiver, this gets pretty weird. DJ Moore, of course, now of the Chicago Bears, or Jameson Williams, who was suspended for 6 games due to a betting thing. Didn't play much last year due to an injury thing. So this is a tale of 2 completely different guys. Who are you taking here?
Oh, I think I will take DJ Moore in this situation. Only because Jameson, and it's nothing against his, talent or anything. I know had he been healthy coming out last year, he would have been one of the top wide receivers off the board in what was already a great wide receiver class. So, I mean, the talent is there. So I could be totally wrong on this, but at least I know DJ Moore, what we're going to get. He's played with terrible QBs his entire career, basically. I'm not saying the entire thing. I know Cam was there. I think his rookie season.
Yeah, but even Cam was starting to fall off,
Yeah,
I think, his first year with him.
But he's always put up great yards. The touchdowns is always what's kind of held him back from getting into that elite tier of wide receivers. So change of scenery, going to Chicago. I'm hoping Justin Fields takes a step forward, and this is arguably the best quarterback he's played with. So I'm expecting him to, at a minimum, do what he's already done, which is a high-end wide receiver too. He could really jump up this year into that wide receiver 1 territory if things break right for him. Do I see that with Jameson Williams, this year or next year with Amon-Ra there? I don't think that's going to happen. Amon-Ra is the guy. He's proven it 2 years in a row now that he is the guy. And I don't see Jameson Williams taking that much volume away from Amon-Ra that Jameson Williams would be a number 1 wide receiver or even a high-end wide receiver too. I just don't know that offense will support 2 wide receivers at that high level.
I think that's really interesting. I'm going to completely disagree with you on this one. We are going to be split down the middle on this one. That's right. I'm doing it. I'm throwing the dagger in this. I'm dropping the grenade. I actually think DJ Moore is what you do if you want to play it safe in Dynasty and you just say, I don't have a good wide receiver 2 on my roster. I need somebody with consistent production. That's fine. DJ Moore, hey, way to go, to the rescue. He's the best he's ever finished as wide receiver 16. That was way back in 2019. So yes, he's been a wide receiver 2 consistently, but that's it. And it's been a low end often. Now I agree Justin Fields is probably close to the best, if not the best quarterback that he will have played with. Again, Cam Newton, maybe at his first rookie year there. But Jameson Williams, I wonder if it's a situation with the Lions. They haven't supported 2 wide receivers because they haven't had 2 wide receivers worth supporting. I love Quintez Cephas as a Wisconsin guy, but he is not exactly a wide receiver 2 for that team. And they've thrown guys out there. DJ Chark, when he was there, was fine. Right. And so they had a little bit of the Chark and Amon-Ra overlap. And so Jameson Williams feels like that's his floor once he gets back and healthy, is what DJ Chark was in that offense. But I think he maybe could, as a big play guy, maybe finish as a wide receiver 2 end of season, but he'll actually win you weeks. I don't know if DJ Moore is the guy who's going to win you weeks anymore. And that's why I think it's just a difference of philosophy, probably. In playing that. It's safety versus upside.
Right.
And I would just rather have the upside, I think, in Jameson.
I understand what you're saying, but I completely disagree. And I want to put a beer bet on it.
Yes. This is interesting. How do we do this? Because it's Dynasty.
No, but we'll say for the season. I mean,
one of these guys is missing 6 games this season.
No,
so I don't know.
We're going to go PPR.
Okay.
Points per game, not total points.
PPR, PPG.
Points per game. Points per game
for this year.
Okay,
I can get on board with that. Yes, mine was more of a long-term take. Granted, I will still make the bet.
No, but that is my conviction on how I think DJ Moore is going to play. Is that I am willing to place the bet. I'm going to put my liquor where my mouth is. And I think in points per game, DJ Moore.
Wait, where else would you put liquor? Where else would you even endeavor to put it besides where your mouth is? I'm just curious.
You cook with liquor.
Are you? Oh, okay. I thought we were going to talk about butt chugging on this podcast for the first time in our
No.
lengthy history here. We're not ready for that conversation.
No. No.
All right, fine. Whatever. We'll keep it a vanilla podcast. That's
Yeah.
just about fantasy football, I guess. Hey, I'm locking it in though. I'm completely fine with that. Points per game, DJ Moore versus Williams for this year. We'll make it happen.
Yes.
Like that it's on the books.
Yep.
Did it. All right, let's move along to
I mean, I it's not that I disagree with your premise at all. I do think if you want more of the upside play, yes, that would be Jamison Williams. But I do think DJ Moore is going to flourish in this offense this year, and I truly believe that. So, hence the beer bet.
I like it. I like that we did it. We're into it. Now let's see what we can make out of these two here. Jahan Dotson going into his second year with the Commanders, or Deontay Johnson, who another down year this past season. He had a rookie quarterback throwing to him for most of the season, and Kenny Pickett. Everybody talks about the drops with Deontay Johnson. Do you care about the drops, and who do you have coming out ahead in long-term value here?
Give me Deontay Johnson. I'm a believer. The drops don't concern me at all. I do expect Pickett to take a step forward. I mean, he's going to be kind of that Daniel Jones area of quarterback, or maybe Kirk Cousins. Kind of, I think his ceiling is like a low end QB1, high end QB2 every year.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that Deontay Johnson can't flourish in an offense. He's a PPR machine. All he does is get peppered with targets, and that's what I want. Like I said, the drops don't concern me. Jahan Dotson, new quarterback again.
As always.
As always, it's like, this season will be interesting. I think coach will be on the hot seat if they don't start winning right out of the gate. So there could be turnover partway through the season or even after the season's done, which then new regime there. Could be another new quarterback going into next season. I just don't like that situation altogether. Where the Pittsburgh situation's a little bit more stable. Kenny's going to be their quarterback. There's no doubt about it there. There's already that they know each other. I mean, yeah, Deontay had a down year, but I don't see that being a huge issue. So just give me Deontay.
Hey, look at this. We swung back around to being in full agreement. Harmonious once again. I'm with you with Deontay Johnson. This question might as well be, who scored more touchdowns this last season and who is being projected differently because of it? Deontay Johnson had a goose egg, 0 touchdowns. The last time that's happened, it's been a bounce back for a wide receiver to come off of that. If Deontay had scored, say, 5 touchdowns, he would have been in the ranks of Garrett Wilson last year. Nobody would be doubting his production going forward. So I think that's silly. Jahan Dotson, on the other hand, was basically all touchdowns. And I'm not going to bank on that for a Washington Commanders offense who, as you said, getting another new quarterback, Sam Howell.
Just lots of question marks. It's just lots of question marks with that offense.
Yeah. And Deontay, his only competition, I mean, we'll see what Darnell Washington brings to the Steelers, but it's a 2 wide receiver game there with Pickens and Johnson. Pickens, again, if you want upside, that's who I'd take. But Deontay Johnson out of these two, abso-freaking-lutely. Let's move on. Kadarius Toney or Rashod Bateman. Who would you rather have in Dynasty? Both of these guys, hot names, dare I say, on the Twitter streets right now. Kadarius Toney, all it takes is one comment from the coaching staff talking about how he should be their wide receiver 1, and people are projecting him to be Tyreek Hill, because that's what you do. And then Rashod Bateman has an incumbent, Zay Flowers, drafted this year as some competition. We know historically the Ravens' pass offense, not great for multiple receivers. So what are you thinking?
I'm going to go with Kadarius Toney. And it's not like it's by a lot or I'm super confident in it. Because the teams, they both have a stud tight end that they throw to.
Yep.
Lamar just got extended. Monster contract, highest in NFL history. They have a new offensive coordinator that's not Greg Roman, so they should be passing the ball more. And I'm sure they're going to want Lamar to pass it more instead of taking off and running with that investment that they made in him. So I could see a world where Bateman is targeted more. But like you said, with Zay Flowers being there, Mark Andrews is still there, and Bateman's been injured the last couple of years. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. So that gives me a little concern. And we just don't know what this offense is going to look like for the Ravens. Obviously, it can only go up from where it's been because it has been so putrid in the passing game. But we know Kansas City, they're going to be passing the ball. Yes, it's Kelsey number one, but that next receiver or next receiving option, I should say, in that offense is wide open. And why couldn't it be Kadarius Toney? He has the draft capital where the Giants drafted him very high, obviously traded. And he's got a full offseason with Mahomes. So give me the more high octane offense that I know is going to continue to be that. And just the opportunity there of that offense.
I like that. I like the idea of taking swings at the Chiefs wide receiver one year after year, because I think that they do want to find the consistency of Tyreek Hill. Obviously, they don't grow on trees, so it's very difficult. They did not find anything close to that last year with Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS, Mecole Hardman, whatever. But if they want Toney to be that guy, they'll try to make him be that guy. And I'm very comfortable with taking whoever they believe in. It might whiff. You might really screw yourself here, and he could fizzle out or get injured again, and you're in the same boat. But both these guys, big injury histories, big question marks. The only deciding factor for me, I agree with you, is the offense then. We hope that the Ravens become what the Chiefs are as a passing attack. So just take the Chiefs guy then at that point. So I'm with you there. We're going to do tight ends, Dustin. I'm sorry. We're going to do tight ends. I apologize in advance. It's happening. By the way, Scampers in the chat says Toney doesn't have working hamstrings. Has that ever been an issue before for an NFL player, by the way? I don't think so. They get by without him. They have robotics these days. If they can put chips in the ball, they can put metal in the hamstrings. Let's talk real quick about tight ends. David Njoku, Cleveland Browns, Pat Freiermuth, Pittsburgh Steelers. I like this because it's also an interdivision thing. But also, I just love Pat Freiermuth, so that's going to be my answer. But who do you have for these two?
Oh, this is gross.
Njoku, by the way, not as gross as you might have thought.
I know he had a very good season last year. Yeah, very productive. That 6-year breakout that we're always looking for as a very highly drafted tight end of his class. This is
still only 26.
Which is insane. He feels like he should be about 30 by now with how long he's been in the league. God, this is gross. Give me Njoku, I guess. I mean, I love Freiermuth, don't get me wrong. But David Njoku is that just ginormous, big-bodied tight end, super athletic, can spread out wide, basically be like a slot receiver if you need to. I think he's going to get targeted in the red zone from Watson. We did see in Houston that Watson did like to target his tight ends from time to time. So hopefully that continues here. Where with Freiermuth, as we kind of talked about the Steelers offense, it goes through Deontay Johnson first. Pickens is that big play guy. And Freiermuth, I don't know if they get down towards the end zone, are they going to try to throw it to him? Or are they going to give it to Najee? I don't know. I'm not as confident in this path for tight end production, I guess.
That's fair. I think you have to look at Darnell Washington's draft a certain way to either have hope for Freiermuth or just be like, he's done. You either look at their new tight end and say, he is their lead blocker as a tight end, or he's going to cut into Freiermuth snaps. I look at him as more of the blocking guy, probably, and it might open up for Freiermuth. Freiermuth, for his credit, was incredible in the red zone last year. He got a high percentage of those targets. It's always hard to say if it's going to carry over, of course.
Right.
But Njoku, it's just tough to put anything on that
I know.
Browns offense.
And like I
right
said,
now.
either of these,
I don't
it's,
like
I,
it.
I mean, I would take either one. I mean, if you're not if you're not getting the top 3 tight ends, it's kind of like, okay, well, flip a coin at this point with these two. You know, I don't have a strong feeling either way, but since you're forcing me to choose, yeah, give me Njoku.
Well, I'm going to force you to choose between one last one here. Again, tight ends, but this is maybe more exciting. I think it is, anyways. These two both have lower trade value than the 2 names we mentioned previously, but are very close to each other. Darren Waller or Chig Okonkwo from the Tennessee Titans.
Waller
without hesitation.
Yeah, without hesitation. Yeah, better offense. He is projected to be their number 1 wide receiver on the team. They have a bunch
Even
of
though
wide
they
receiver
have a
twos.
dozen right
they
now.
They have a dozen wide receiver 2s, but we've seen him perform at a super high level. I don't have any faith in this Tennessee offense, as we kind of alluded to at the top of the show with the whole Malik Willis rumor and everything. Like, we don't know if Tannehill's going to be there. They could be starting Will Levis. And I know he's a very polarizing quarterback. He could be great. He could be garbage. We don't know. We won't know unless he starts. The only thing that Chig has going for him is that it's Treylon Burks, and that's about it as far as receiving options. So, I mean, he could get a lot of targets just based on that. But Waller, we've seen him do it before. And like I said, the Giants just don't have a lot of great receiving options either. And Waller is that prototypical big-bodied tight end that you like to see, and a guy that can line up at any point in the formation too, as a X wide receiver.
Yeah. For this year, they might finish close to each other. I could maybe see that. I don't see one of these guys being around for much more than a year as a fantasy impact, and that guy is Chig. I mean, fine, great, because as a number 2 in any offense, great. I'm okay with it. But also, as we've talked about with the Titans, we don't know if he's actually the number 2 or if he's the number 1 tight end on that team, because we never know what their tight end is actually going to be.
And I was just going to say,
fantasy.
didn't they draft another tight end this year too?
Probably.
So it's just
so Titans of them. Yeah, I'm with you for Darren Waller then, because I could see him still being productive well beyond this year, and he's way better than the wide receivers that are on that godforsaken team. So there we go. We've hit it. We did it. I think we'd rather have a lot of other guys than who we discussed, but I didn't want to do the big names. Obviously,
no, that's not nearly
all
as
day
fun.
long. But what the hell is the point of that?
It's splitting hairs at that point. Who would you rather have, Justin Jefferson or Chase? It's like, oh no,
let's have a half an hour discussion about it.
Yeah,
instead of just trading for one or both or everything. We have a few minutes, Dustin. I want to throw this out to you. We haven't had a mini draft in a while. I think we could breeze through a mini draft pretty great in about 8 minutes or so. What do you think?
If we're gonna breeze through it quickly, sure.
Let's do it. Let's fucking just knock this thing out, man. We're gonna do a 90s comedy movie draft. So get on board or get the hell out. We've done a lot of drafts at this point. I think this could maybe possibly be my favorite, but we'll see. So here is the draft board. We will be, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Dustin, I don't know if you even have the capacity to get your spinner up or not at this point.
Oh, I can always get my spinner up.
Sure. Do you need to take any pills for that, or is that?
Hey, I'm natural? Old, but I'm not that old.
Okay.
There. Are you ready?
I'm freaking ready, man. Let's do it.
Let's get rid of that guy. Whee!
Just give it to him already. Oh!
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say it was going to be you for sure.
Nope.
All right. Well, this is a pretty easy one for me, but I'm bummed that I maybe don't have the second option this time around, because there's a twofer here that I'm going to get screwed on. I already know this. We know each other probably too well for this, but I am not leaving this draft without Dumb and Dumber. So God damn it, I'm locking it in at the one spot.
Yeah, I mean, that was easy. I mean, that was so easy.
But I know with unequivocal fact I'm going to get sniped here in one of these next two picks, and I just have to take it. I have to sit here. I can't do anything about it. And if you don't take it, I'm going to chastise you for the rest of your life.
Well, there's so many good ones. 90s had so many great comedies.
So fucking many.
But I am going to take God, which one do I like better? There's two I really love. Obviously, Dumb and Dumber is the number one.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
Just
really
make sure you
matter
get the
which
order
point
right.
I take them. But I'm going to take Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Oh, look at you making sure you lock yourself in.
I love that movie. It's so quotable.
Jim Carrey.
And it's football related as well.
It has some great Dan Marino.
That's right.
In there. Absolutely it
Isotoners.
does. We both had to get ourselves some Jim Carrey.
That's right.
Which you do. All right. Who's your second pick now?
My second
Now
pick
you
is going to be Tommy Boy.
You didn't take the movie that I thought you were going to take, and I will never let you live it down. But Tommy Boy is a great pick.
Oh, come on. That is a great movie.
No, that's an amazing pick. Don't get me wrong. Amazing pick. Zero qualms with it from an outsider's perspective. It's just I thought about taking this other movie 101 because I thought you were going to take it from me.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what movie I'm missing.
Oh, sir, you're about to find out in a big way. The Wedding Singer is my number 2 pick here.
Yes.
One of the most quotable movies of the entire 90s.
It is.
I would argue, perhaps, definitely is Adam Sandler's best movie. That's just one guy's opinion. I understand not everybody shares it.
That is disappointing for me. I am really bummed about that.
Not going to get, but that's okay. You still have an amazing start to your draft. I'm going to make mine, I think, more amazing by adding a double banger of Adam Sandler. I'm going to put Happy Gilmore in my 3 spot.
Nice selection.
Thank you.
I think you took that a little early.
Really?
I do. All
right. What do you what now I'm going to be judging this retroactively the entire rest of the draft. If you think you have such a better movie, I guess I'm curious to see what you come up with.
Well, the first one I am going to take is Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery.
The OG.
Yes, the OG. Again, such a great quotable movie. I watched it more times than I can remember. And I love it, and very star-studded. I will just say as well.
Is it? Who else is in? I mean, Elizabeth Hurley, and who am I missing?
Roseanne Barr's husband has a cameo.
I love that he's Roseanne Barr's husband.
Seth Green. Seth Green is in it.
Oh yeah, Seth Green. Oh duh, right. Yes. Oh, and who's the guy with the eye patch? I never remember his name, but yeah, okay, all right, I'm with you on that. Okay,
yeah.
Who do you want to follow that up with now?
Well, this is where things start to get a little interesting.
It's going to get pretty dicey from here on out, I think. By the way, I'm pretty flexible about what we consider to be a comedy. Some people might say that some of these movies might not be. I don't really care.
Well, I'm just going to go based off of my heart at this point.
Yeah, as you should.
And I am going to go with The Big Lebowski.
See, this is one that I thought about. I don't know if people will consider it a comedy.
I know. I think it is. It's funny as hell.
Hilarious. I mean, it's a caper.
Yeah.
Coen Brothers movies, they're always like a caper. There's always something else. It's fucking hilarious. So
Yeah.
I give that to you, zero qualms.
Thank you.
You obviously took one of the best Mike Myers movies ever.
But not the best one.
In my opinion, you did not take the best one, which is Wayne's World. So I'm going to.
And I knew I was leaving it there, but that's fine. I'm okay with it. I love that movie so much, and it was weird. I swear to God, last week in the span of like a day and a half, out of nowhere there was like 4 references to Wayne's World that came into my life. I don't know what was going on, but
it's so quotable.
It was great. Yeah,
it's so good crazy choice. Quotable. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's a couple of biggies that I could still knock out here. But I think there's only one that I'm concerned about you taking from me, which is Mr. Bill Murray and Groundhog Day. So I'm locking that in.
Oh, good one. I didn't even think about that one. That is a great choice. I'm again disappointed in myself that I did not think of that. Again, if I would have had time to prep for this draft beforehand, I would have probably had that, because I do love that movie so much.
So rewatchable.
I'm really liking your draft so far, Jake.
Thank you. To be fair, yours is pretty stellar. It's hard to go wrong, I think, at this point in the draft. I think that we separate the wheat from the chaff with the next few picks here.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure.
There's like 5 actors basically who were dominant in every 90s comedy that we think about. And so that's kind of how I went into this. I was just like, I got to make sure I get these guys, you know?
All right. I know I'm kind of stalling here a little bit.
I noticed that. Are you stalling because you think that maybe some of your favorite movies are actually from the 80s here? Because I've had that thought actually cross my mind. I was like, Groundhog Day is 90s, right? It is.
Well, there is one I should probably look at. But I think here for my first pick, I'm going to take There's Something About Mary.
Oh, done. Oh, that's also football related, obviously.
It is.
Mr. Favre.
Yeah. Okay. So the one movie I was thinking about was out in '89, so I can't take that one, which makes me really sad.
What was
it?
It
Was Major League.
Oh shit! Yeah,
I thought that was in the '90s. I thought it was like 1990. I thought it was right on the cusp, but
it's fair.
Yeah, because that would have been a great one.
Yeah, that would have been a great one. Well, it's not because it was 1989.
Yep.
What do you think for your second go round here?
Fuck. This
Think
is
into your
tough.
heart. Listen to your heart.
I know.
When it's talking comedies.
Let's see here. I think
it can't be Mr. Bean, by the way.
No,
that's the one I was going to take. So I just
I think
to make sure
I'm going to take Half Baked.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Sniped.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. That was definitely high on my list. Ooh, that hurts. That stings. I'm going to sting it back. I'm going to get you, I think, in an area that maybe you weren't considering, but I know after I type this in, you will be regretting not taking Dogma.
Oh, that is a good one.
My personal favorite Kevin Smith movie came out at the tail end of the 90s, so I'm happy with that one.
That is good. I applaud you for that one, Jake.
And this is one, look, I don't know if you would take this, but I would feel pretty fucking foolish if I didn't take it at this point, and then you did. So I'm just going to put Office Space in there just to make sure. Just to make sure.
That one was on my list to take. I probably would have taken it over Half Baked had I remembered, but in my quick scrolling here, I totally missed it. Unfortunately.
I'm glad for that, because there's some that I have ranked higher, like my own personal favorites. I love that movie, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a couple I can sneak away here from. All right, you've got a double bagger. We both do. I don't know why I keep saying that like it's something new. There's only 2 of us. Of course, every time it turns around, we're going to be drafting twice.
Very true, Jake. Very astute of you to.
Very in the moment, I am. I think there's a couple. I don't know if you're trying to not to be redundant here with the actors you've chosen. But my goodness, there's some good ones out there.
Oh, I gotta look one up.
Oh, we got to make sure that it's era specific here, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. I do. All right, here it is. And this one might not be on people's radar, but it's one of my favorite comedies. I love watching it. Down Periscope.
I fucking love Down Periscope.
Great movie.
But I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. Oh, that's an amazing. It's star-studded. You want to talk about a star-studded movie?
Exactly.
Every character actor from the 90s is in that shit.
If you have not seen it, folks, do yourself a favor. Go out and rent it. on Amazon or wherever. It is a great movie.
Bunch of goofballs in a
It's- it-
submarine trying to win war games, basically. Oh, it's so good. So
Mhm.
good. Oh, well done. Well done.
All right. Next one
I
in
can't
my
believe you
picks-
haven't taken one of these already, by the way, just based on the history of this draft.
I know. I think the next one I want to take here is Dazed and Confused.
Ooh, shit. That's a good one. See, I wasn't thinking of that as a comedy, but obviously it
Mhm.
is. It's hilarious. Oh, fuck. I think you're turning this thing around with the Lebowski and Dazed and Confused picks. Oh, that makes me sad. All right. I'm going to go with a couple here. I think my last 3 picks I might be able to get away with without you bringing it up. But this one is most likely for you to snipe from me. So I'm putting in Airheads. Airheads, baby.
Good one. I
Steve
can't believe I
Buscemi,
didn't even think about that one.
Brendan Fraser, and Adam Sandler, all in one glorious movie. It's so, and Chris Farley is a small part. It's so fucking good. Now I just have to make sure I get 2 movies in here that I really want to get in. Again, I know you're not stealing this from me, but I'm not leaving this draft without some Clueless. I love Clueless. Paul Rudd looks just as young now as he did in Clueless. Not quite.
True story.
Amazing.
Ooh. I just came across a movie that I'm
You
glad
could
I
have
did.
stopped that sentence halfway through and I would have believed it. Ooh, I just came. I would have believed that as well, by the way. But you came across a movie. What is it?
Yeah, this is a great movie. Hilarious. I can't believe I almost missed it. It's The Birdcage.
Shit. I completely forgot about the Birdcage. It's pretty egregious that it lasted until around 9.
It really is. It really is.
Wow. That sucks. I feel bad now. Okay.
All right. And then to finish it off, I mean, there's 2 movies that I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll take either of them, to be honest. I think I know what movie you might take here with your last pick.
Yeah. So you're not sniping me.
I'm not 100% sure, but I have a good, I think I have a pretty good beat on it. But I'm just going to go with movie I've watched more recently and which movie I will watch more often.
Okay.
Son-in-Law.
Oh. That just came out of me. I couldn't even control it because you said son-in-law. Dustin and I have had multiple debates about whether Pauly Shore is the good guy or the bad guy in Son-in-Law, by the way. I still think I'm right. I still think he's the bad guy, but it's a great movie.
Yeah.
You're right. I wasn't going to take it. There are 2 movies that I'm really struggling with. I would love to just jam them in here together, but I know I can't do that. So I'm going to go with the one that I rewatch like every year pretty much, which is Friday. I'm going to lock in Friday as my 10th comedy. It's just
I thought about that one,
but it's
lovely. No, it's great. That is not the movie I thought you were going to take.
What did you think I was going to take?
I thought you were going to take
my honorable mention.
Empire Records.
I didn't know if that also qualified as a comedy, so it kept slipping down. I was like, I don't know if I should take
so.
It. Once you took Lebowski and
I mean, it's not like
probably
your traditional goofball comedy, but
you're right. Oh, I should have. Now I feel like I should have taken it. It was that Friday, and So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is one of my personal favorites for Mike Myers movies. That's an honorable mention, but yeah, this was tough to narrow down. But a good list, I think we did.
Yeah, I honorable mentions for me is American Pie.
Yeah. How about Mallrats?
Mallrats, Clerks. I mean, both of those would have been in there. Probably Mallrats over Clerks for me.
Sure.
But that's
Waiting for Guffman is one that I thought about. You know, if you like your more sophisticated but also really fucking stupid comedies from Christopher Guest. Can't Hardly Wait is one of my rewatchable movies, but didn't make the list.
I am a sex machine.
Also crazy star-studded cast.
Crazy star-studded, yeah.
Absurd. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, Jake, you hit it strong. I feel like you hit it out of the park, like the first half of the draft,
Start.
and then you tailed off a little bit because you had some really good picks that I missed. But I feel like I redeemed myself on the later half of the draft.
I agree. We'll post it out as we do on
Not
Twitter.
that I think either of us lost this one, because I mean there's so many
No.
great comedies and the
So
lists are
good.
both like dynamite. It's nitpicking. It's like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert, basically at this point. You're
Boom.
nitpicking.
Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. We're mostly just going to get yelled at for the movies that we didn't list that people
Probably.
love as their favorite movies.
Yeah,
That's
which
what
is
I think
fine.
is happening.
That's fine. Okay. Well, I feel good about this. That was
Thank
a
you,
fun
Jake.
little way to end this episode. Thank you for bringing that up, Jake. I enjoyed that immensely.
You betcha.
All right, folks. Well, do what we tell you to do. Give us 5 stars. Subscribe to us. We go live every week here on YouTube. You can catch us. We clip parts of the show if you just want to catch bits and pieces. So check those out. Otherwise, we will be back next week, starting our divisional breakdown series for real this time. Not sure which division we're going to start with as of yet. But yeah, over the next 8 weeks or so, we are going to be knocking out all the divisions, talking about free agency, key players they've lost, brought in, the draft, and just basically what we think for each team here as we get ready for next season and the fantasy impact that all the players on these teams have. So gear up for that because it's going to be a haul, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Going to have some guests on to share their opinions, some homers, pounding their chest for the fantasy players on their home teams. So it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. So be sure to tune in for that. And with that being said, see you next week, folks.
Cheers, FFers.